May 14, the day of Israel's independence. An Arab Legion officer rejoices.
How beautiful was this day, May 14th, when the whole world held its breath, anticipating the entry of 7 Arab armies into Palestine to redeem it from the Zionists and the West.
That day, the armies of Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Transjordan and Egypt pour into the Jewish state. At 1 a.m., Ben-Gurion is awoken to be told that President Truman has extended de facto recognition to Israel. At dawn, Ben-Gurion addresses America in a radio broadcast. As he does so, the hum of Egyptian planes is heard overhead, followed by explosions as bombs drop on nearby Dov airfield. In the north, the Syrians sweep into the upper Jordan Valley. Chaim Herzog, who served in the war and would later become president of Israel, relates.
The situation looked very desperate indeed for the outgunned and outmanned Israeli settlers and troops defending the area.
On May 19th, a delegation from the Jordan Valley settlements pleads with Ben-Gurion for reinforcements. Ben-Gurion replies,
"There is a shortage of people on all fronts. The whole country is a battlefield. We are unable to send reinforcements."
When one of the men in the delegation bursts into tears, Ben-Gurion tells a friend,
"You cannot imagine what I felt seeing him cry. And there was nothing I could promise."
May 22nd is the worst day. In the south, the Egyptians pound the Kibbutz of Yad Mordechai in their push toward Tel Aviv. The defenders signal.
The men's morale is sinking. They approach exhaustion. This settlement must be reinforced or abandoned.
In Jerusalem, the Jordanian Arab Legion captures areas on the edge of the city and attacks relentlessly with its artillery. Legion units hold the Latrun fortress, cutting off supplies from the coast to Jerusalem's beleaguered defenders. One Israeli high officer says,
"Another 72 hours, and it will all be over."
But the next day, May 23rd, there are rays of hope. The Legion attack in Jerusalem is halted. In the south, the defenders of Kibbutz Yad Mordechai are still holding off the Egyptians. Although the kibbutz will fall the next day, the defenders have bought the Jewish state 5 vital days to organize the defense of its population centers. May 23rd also marks the end of the battle for the Jordan Valley. Degania Aleph and Degania Bet, 2 kibbutzim on the southern shore of the Sea of Galilee, repel the Syrian attack. A Syrian tank which had reached the middle of Degania Aleph is stopped by a young boy who throws a Molotov cocktail. The tank has not been moved to this day. Chaim Herzog writes,
Degania is known as the mother of kibbutzim, the first to be established. The fact that this first major battle against an invading army was taking place at Degania was seen as an omen. The morale-boosting effect of this success was to be decisive in the desperate days that followed.
By May 24th, Ben-Gurion feels confident enough to propose going on the offensive. He tells the General Staff,
"The battle for Jerusalem is the most important, both morally and politically, and to a large extent, militarily too."
Chief of Operations Yigal Yadin disagrees. The Egyptians are the greatest threat. An argument breaks out between them as Ben-Gurion insists on opening the road to Jerusalem, which means a frontal attack on the Latrun fortress, where well-trained Arab Legion forces are backed by armor and artillery. Although the newly formed 7th Brigade is not battle-ready, Ben-Gurion orders it to take Latrun and open the Jerusalem road. The 7th Brigade includes hundreds of immigrants just off the boats from Cyprus who had never held a rifle in their lives. Yadin's warnings are borne out as the assault ends in disaster with 200 Israeli casualties. The failure of the Israeli forces to break through to Jerusalem leaves the few defenders in the Jewish quarter of the walled Old City engaged in desperate hand-to-hand fighting as ammunition runs out. On May 28th, the Jewish quarter surrenders to the Arab Legion. Historian Netanel Lodge writes in The Edge of the Sword,
An Arab League officer, seeing the pitiful number of fighters and their meager equipment, exclaimed, "If we had known that this is what you fought with, we would have beaten you with sticks."
The Arabs destroy what is left, including some 58 Jewish synagogues. The failure to capture Latrun leads Ben-Gurion to appoint a single commander for all forces operating in Jerusalem and the corridor leading to the city. On May 28, Colonel David Mickey Marcus, an American citizen and graduate of West Point who had served on General Eisenhower's staff, is made Supreme Commander of the Jerusalem Front. Marcus is the most distinguished among thousands of Jews and some non-Jews, most of them World War II veterans who serve as soldiers and, most crucial, as pilots during the War of Independence. They are referred to by a Hebrew acronym Machal, meaning volunteers from outside Israel. Ben-Gurion orders 2 more attacks on Latrun. Both end in failure. Jewish Jerusalem outside the Old City is saved nonetheless. A previously unknown path that bypasses Latrun is discovered by an Israeli patrol. David Marcus, along with several officers, recommends the alternate route to Ben-Gurion. Hundreds of construction crews, engineers, and all available bulldozers are put to work building and carrying vital equipment along the new road. It is absolutely vital for Israel to finish the road before an approaching truce on June 11th freezes the status quo. Only hours before the truce, Commander David Marcus is killed. At 3:50 in the morning, wrapped in a blanket, he goes outside his camp's perimeter. When a sentry challenges him in Hebrew, Marcus responds in English and jumps over a stone fence. The sentry shoots Marcus in the chest. But the route he recommended around Latrun, the Burma Road as it came to be known, is finished in time. On June 11th, the truce goes into effect. Historian Lorch writes,
"It came to us as dew from heaven," said one commander. Casualty figures, particularly in the infantry battalions, were extremely high. It was vital that the men should be allowed to rest and recover, and that reinforcements should be allocated to the battalions.
But the truce only marks the end of the first phase of the war. Both Arabs and Jews will spend the next 28 days furiously preparing for the next round.